And in this episode, we're heading to the south of France, to the Languedoc-Roussillon. Bonjour, Winederlusters! My name's Jeanene and I love wine travel. And in this season, we are leaving Australia and we're heading to beautiful France. I'm speaking to a bunch of wine lovers and wine experts that have lived and worked in France. And we learn all about different regions outside of the capital. And I share a couple of my tips. So grab yourself a glass and let's get exploring. Family friends, interior designer Amanda and her husband Neil left Sydney a few years ago for Europe. They now split their time between a tiny village in France and London. I knew that Neil and Amanda had moved to the south of France, but I wasn't quite sure where. This village is nestled between Toulouse and Montpellier, not far from the World Heritage Site of Carcassonne. The Languedoc-Roussillon area of France traditionally produced very approachable table wines. This is a region that isn't really well known for its wine. They didn't have the prestige of places like Burgundy and Bordeaux. And while there's still a lot of table wine being produced, there's an increasing number of very good quality wines at a much lower price. This region also seems to have fewer restrictions and rules and regulations, which allows winemakers to be a little bit more creative and experimental and using grapes and blends that aren't possible in other regions. I loved hearing how Neil and Amanda have some 52 vineyards in very close proximity to their village, and all the different types of wines that the area produces that I hadn't heard before. This is such a fun fact with the founder of the traditional champagne method that comes from the same little area, Limoux, as Neil and Amanda live in. So listen out for that. You're going to love this chat. Please welcome Neil and Amanda. Welcome to the Winederlust podcast, Neil and Amanda. It's so great to have you here. You guys are living the dream. You've got a villa in the south of France. So you're near Carcassonne.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
And so you've bought it 5 years ago?
7 years ago now.
7 years ago now.
How
Wow.
time flies.
And so how did you decide on the region?
So really kind of potluck. I wish I could say that we had a very strategic view to it. But as in most things in our life, it just sort of slightly happened. We went on a trip around France, and that trip with my mother, the three of us, and that trip was based mainly on house swaps that I had gotten. So the trip was somewhat directed by places I could stay or places we could stay.
What a great way to explore a country, though, and go somewhere that you might not normally visit.
Yeah, well, we sort of went round in a circle. We had a car, and then we just went from one to the other. And how we came to choose Alet-les-Bains, which is a tiny little village close to some big towns, but really in the middle of nowhere, was that we met some really nice people in this village based on our house swap. So we did a house swap with a woman called Helen. She had a grown-up child and a soon-to-be grandchild in Bondi Junction and wanted to do a house swap.
Yeah.
And so we stayed with her a couple of times. There were some other areas that we liked.
Yeah.
And then there were some things that we did decide we wanted. So Neil particularly wanted some kind of on the water situation. And we're on a river here, the River Ode. It goes right through the middle of the village. Mum had certain requirements, somewhere easy to drive. It's fairly flat here. Some other villages around it and other places we visited were on these really steep kind of winding roads up mountains, and Mum couldn't possibly, navigate that on her own in the dark at night if she was going out to see friends. So there were those sorts of requirements. And then it really was a matter of just we found this house in the village and bought it.
Fantastic. Just make a decision. I love that.
We did do a little bit more than that. So where we are is when we originally bought here 7 years ago, it had 300 sunny days a year.
Yeah, weather was important.
It also had not the highest or hottest area, but it had a consistently high median temperature for the longest period of the year.
Yeah.
So we enjoy, so one of the things we
Yeah.
enjoy here, we enjoy a really nice long summer. And, we open the pool 1st of May and typically close at 1st of November. And that's
Wow.
mainly because nobody's using it. But in fact, actually, you can swim from the 1st of May till the 1st of November.
How fantastic. So what are some of the things to see and do in the area?
There's a lot of things. So the first thing is Carcassonne is a UNESCO World Heritage Village.
City.
Okay. Yeah, true. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 2 and 4 million people a year go through Carcassonne.
Mm.
We're in the middle of the Languedoc wine region. So I think I looked on a map and including all the little wines, there's about 52 vineyards within a 7-kilometre radius of us.
That sounds fantastic.
It's an hour to the beach. It's 30 minutes to the Carcassonne Lake, 15 minutes to Keon Lake. So the village, there's canoeing down the river in the village. And all through summer, the art association here runs, like it starts with Pentecote and Alet in concert. And you carry on because it's your association.
Well, I'm the secretary of the association. So we have quite a rich cultural life here. So we're a village of 400 people. It's a medieval village. So we have the most beautiful abbey in the main street, which is a ruin, which has got, 7th century bits in it, mainly 11th century, but like unbelievable,
Yes.
and you're just kind of sitting there in the middle of it, looking at the tower. And so we, in the Art Association, put on a number of events during the year. Last weekend, for instance, we had a German professor in town holding a cello masterclass, and he had 3 German students with him who were just wonderful, and they were practicing every day for hours and hours in one of our little public spaces, which is a medieval room in this little building. And so there was all these wonderful sounds of cello all through the village all day. And then on the Thursday night, they did a free concert near our little war memorial. And then on the Friday night, another free concert put on by the students and their teacher, and our friend Boris joined in as well.
And that was in the chapter house inside the Abbey, which was just a stunning venue. It was surreal, and the acoustics were absolutely amazing.
And do you think that a lot of these French villages have such a rich cultural vibe happening all the time, or have you just lucked out with this particular town that you're in? Or?
I think we've lucked out a little bit. And I was one of the founding members of the association, and it's a lot of work, Jeanene.
Yeah, we worked pretty hard over the summer to make all these things happen. There's quite a group of committed people committed to developing the art and culture in this area, and they work pretty hard to make things happen. And we're all volunteers. Everybody works for free. It does create an environment where there is, all through the summer, there's something going on.
Yeah. Well,
it's a beautiful community sort of spirit happening.
But I think it is true to say that lots of places in Europe, in quite small communities, do have a rich cultural program, and there's always seems to be some wonderful concert on in some far-flung church that you can go to for free, and that kind of thing. But
so let's go back to the wine. 52 vineyards within 7 kilometers. That's fantastic. What's the name of the region that the village is in?
So the region we are here is the Languedoc-Roussillon wine region.
France is a big country. As Australians, we're used to traveling big distances. At home, we wouldn't think twice about driving 4 or 5 hours, Canberra to, Sydney, 3.5, 4 hours. But here that seems quite long, but not to us.
Yeah. So for context, from the top of France, from Paris or say Brittany to where we are, is a 12-hour drive. So it's the same distance as Adelaide to Sydney.
Yeah, that's quite a distance then.
It's sort of, if you start at the hierarchy is we're in the Occitanie region. We're in the Aude department within the Occitanie region. And the wine region that applies within there is the Languedoc-Roussillon wine region. There's a broad range of wines. So we're in the Limoux area. So the Limoux area is known for two things primarily. The first is Blanquette, which was pre-Champagne.
Sparkling wine.
Oh, right.
Made by the monks of Saint Hilaire, and the one of the monks from Saint Hilaire actually went across to Champagne, the story is, and that was how Champagne originally became.
And his name was Dom Perignon.
Oh, yes.
And so in the Limoux region, for example, we have three types of Blanquette. We have a Blanquette ancestral, which is made from a Mosaic grape, a Blanquette de Limoux, which is made 90% Mosaic and 10% Chardonnay, and then a Cremant, which is made 100% Chardonnay.
And everybody drinks that like that. So when you go for drinks at someone's house, it's completely normal that you would be offered a Blanquette or that you would offer a Blanquette. And when we first came, we were like, I don't think so. Where's the champagne? But we were thinking of that kind of local, because we think of it like Prosecco or,
not as good as champagne, but you've got to support local.
Afford a champagne. Yes. You drink, an Australian sparkling wine or an Italian sparkling wine or, Spanish, but we didn't really realize about Blanquette and the quality within it. And, I think the bottles
probably start from around €6, but some of the really good Blanquettes here are champagne prices.
Mm.
I mean, and they are really good.
And is it as labor intensive? Like they do the 2 ferments in the bottle and riddle and things like that? Do you think? Yeah, right. Yes. So it is that method, traditional method of making.
Yeah. Method champenoise, isn't it?
And it does vary. So depending upon which Blanquette you're having, it'll go through either 1 fermentation or 2 fermentations. And so the ancestral, for example, is much sweeter, all the way through to the Cremant, which is a very dry, very brut. The other thing that this region's known for is the Chardonnays.
Oh, great!
So whilst it's not a branded Chardonnay region, it produces very, very good Chardonnays. And in fact, one of the local Chardonnays was the gold medal award-winning Chardonnay for France last year.
Wow!
From a vineyard called Nicolas Thérèse, which is in Serre, and that's about less than a 15-minute drive from here. So we live in the middle of an area with a lot of very beautiful wines. All the Aude region. So within there we have Lézignan-Corbières. Lézignan-Corbières produces some beautiful reds. We include Maury. We've got parts of the Minervois. We've got parts of the Côtes de Rousson. And so as you get down to that coastal area, there's a lot of really nice reds. But one of the things you have to get used to in France is a lot of the grapes are quite different. So you'll understand, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc. They're all wines that we're actually going to know from the red ones. But for example, one of my favorite whites was something I'd never heard of, and it's a grape called Bourboloc.
No, I've not heard of that either.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. It's a really rich, not heavy, but big white. It's sort of a little bit, it's a little peachy flavored. It's a great wine.
And do they make that on oak or stainless steel? Do you know?
They make it on both. So most vineyards here will do both. For mass market, a lot of it will be stainless steel.
Yep.
And then for those that have a slightly more refined palate, it will be an oak.
Well, you shouldn't say refined, but different and more expensive. And more expensive.
So one of the local vineyards that we get, or domains that we go to here is Lefort. And Lefort do both a stainless steel Chardonnay and an oaked Cuvée Blanche Chardonnay. They taste quite different. They're the same grape, but the wines actually taste very different. The stainless steel one it's a nice wine, but it's quite a young wine in tasting. whereas the Cuvée Blanche, that 6 to 9 months in oak that it's had, just gives it that body, that little bit of depth, and I guess that little bit of oaky flavour. But it's not. The wines here are not heavy.
No, that
Not
sounds
like
wonderful.
not like a heavy Australian Chardonnay. They're much, much lighter.
I just looked up how to spell that Bourboloc because I wasn't sure myself. Bourboulenc.
Because you don't live there all year round, so people can come and stay in your beautiful village.
They can.
Yeah. So we live in the main house, and then we built this cottage at the end of the garden, which the French word for a holiday kind of let is a gîte. Cottage is called Maison Pigeonnier because there were 2 pigeon houses there. And so really the idea is that there's 2 little sort of pigeon houses connected by a sitting room, kitchen, dining room area in the middle. So we rent that out year long. The website is ourfrenchholiday.com in English.
Congratulations. You guys, that's fantastic. And it looks beautiful.
We do kind of go the extra mile
Yeah, I mean,
for our guests.
last
can
week,
see that you would. As having been a guest staying at your house before. And
the Norwegian family last week, they all bought their bikes. We store their bikes. They use the bike pump we have. So
there's good cycling around there then? Because it's flat,
there's
you were
great
saying.
cycling.
Yeah.
The Tour de France comes through here, not every year, but do they always go to Carcassonne, Neil?
They typically always go through Carcassonne, yes.
Yeah, which is, obviously near us, but sometimes they ride right past the village.
How wonderful.
So that's quite a big, not for us, but that's quite a big business in the area, as you can imagine, when the tour is on. So I think the Norwegians, they went and did a leg of the ride.
What happens with the tour is if you get permission and you're lucky, you can actually, after the tour's gone through, while the road is still closed, you can do part of the Tour de France track.
So you recommend the south of France?
Yeah, I mean, like any small community, you probably get a lot more from it than you do in a big city. But you sort of have to kind of make your own fun, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's all sort of homemade. It's different from living in a city where everything's on your doorstep. But it's very beautiful geographically to look at, the mountains and the valleys and the vines, and it's all of that picture book stuff.
At the same time, you can almost drive into any of the 52 vineyards I told you around us, and you can actually say, well, I'd like to taste some wine. Yeah. And even if they're closed, they'll open up for you.
But they don't have a cellar door program. In Australia, that's been such a clever thing in Australia, and has become more and more and more sophisticated with wonderful food and proper chefs and, the whole kind of show around wine tasting. One of the first ones we did, he couldn't find the bottle opener. So it's very low key, and those that do have cellar door are actually very generous, aren't they?
They are very generous. Yeah. They don't. You'll get to taste. You'll get a decent amount in the glass to take 2 or 3 or 4 tastes to decide. Do you like this?
How fantastic!
Thank you so much for listening. You can subscribe now to get each episode as they drop. You can also check out this podcast on YouTube and see pictures of the region and the people I've spoken to. Go to winederlust.au, that's WINEDERLUST.au for everything discussed today. You can also subscribe to my newsletter